Welcome, everyone. This is the Goffstown Planning Board meeting on December 14th, 2020, our last one of the year. 23. Jump back 3 years. There we go. So we're going to start off. We have some correspondence and action items for those of you that are in the audience. We're going to take care of that. Then we're going to have a scenic road public hearing. Then we have been a request for anyone who's here for the 66 Tenny Road application that's going to be continued, but we will address that as we go further on into our agenda. So let's start with introductions. David, you go first.
Dave Pierce, I'm an alternate member.
Colleen Mayu.
Barbara Griffin.
Brian Mazer.
Scott Ozana, Town Engineer.
Kimberly Peace.
Gayla Breck, alternate and recording secretary.
Philip Devanza.
Collis Adams, Select Board Representative.
Patty Gale, Planning Assistant.
Okay, and we have a quorum tonight, so we will not need the alternates to be voting on anything. We do? We have 7?
1, 2.
Everybody's here. Except Tim, right?
Yep.
5? We need 5 for a quorum?
Yes, but we
Yeah.
usually, if there's somebody absent, we still usually have the 7th person being a voting alternate.
We do.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Dave, you can vote today. How exciting. Okay, anybody have any changes or corrections? We have 2 sets of minutes. Let's vote on the first one on November 9th. Does anybody have any
Motion to
corrections?
approve.
Second.
Okay, motion seconded. Anybody have any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Wait, was I at the November 9th? I was, okay, thank you. November 16th minutes. Anybody have any edits, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, comments?
I abstain.
Brian abstains. Wait, you were here?
I wasn't here on the 16th.
Just remember. All right, cool. Thank you. Okay, minutes of December 7th. Oh, we have another one.
Those
were
you just received
we
tonight
just-
and by email.
Okay, so
So you might want to wait on those.
we'll wait on those.
Yeah.
Thank you. They're right, those were by email and we can't vote on them when they come by email?
No, you can
No.
if you've all read them, but they just came
Yeah,
this
so just we
week.
ta-
So I
table.
don't know
Yeah.
if everyone's looked at them. You can if you want.
I suggest we table.
All right, let's table them. Okay, so
Are
next,
we tabling them?
we're tabling the December
No, we need a
7th.
motion to table.
There we go. I don't think
I don't think we
so.
need
I
to
think the
table
chair-
them,
just-
we just won't take any action
Then they're
tonight.
not tabled, we'll just
Yeah.
The
put
chair
them
can
on.
lay something on the table.
All right,
There you go.
moving on. We have requests to continue the Tenny Road application, that's map 10, lot 8-1, to the January 25th, 2024 meeting to allow more time to complete the drainage study. Action is needed, so we need to make a motion to approve the request to continue it.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Anybody have any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So again, for those of you, if you're here in the audience for that application will be heard on January 25th. So we have an email that supports the tree cutting. We'll get into that when we start into our public hearing. And then a copy of the letter from the DPW that we will get into further on in the meeting as well. So then our first item on the regularly scheduled agenda is the scenic road public hearing.
Madam Chair, I'll be stepping down. There are no trees in front of my house, but it's a road I live on.
Okay, thank you. Do we appoint you as voter now?
You can if you want, yes.
Okay, let's appoint Gail as voting member and Barbara's dead for this hearing. Okay, the Goffstown Planning Board will hold a public hearing pursuant to RSA 231:158 for the purpose of trimming and removal of trees on a designated scenic road in the town of Goffstown. PSNH, aka Eversource Energy, is proposing to trim and remove trees along the roadside of Merrill Road, which is a designated scenic road. Okay. Project overview. Eversource is requesting to perform the removal of 17 trees near the power lines on Merrill Road. Since Merrill Road is a scenic road in our town, a public hearing is required. Permission from the affected landowners is also required. So for staff comments, DPW said they do not have issues with the tree cutting on Merrill Road. The majority of the trees are ash and are either dead or dying due to emerald ash borer infestations. These trees could pose a threat to the traveling public if not taken care of soon. Do we have a representative from Eversource here tonight?
I also want to state for the record that the Conservation Commission has no issues of concerns with regarding of the tree removal.
Thank you. State your name for the record.
Hi, my name's Andrew King. I'm the arborist in the central region for Eversource.
Thank you. Why don't you give us an overview of
Oh,
how many
okay.
trees?
So I came into this project kind of in the middle. It's customer generated with several declining ash trees. There's a large pine that at some point had been stripped up to 70 feet and then just left like that. So I think that's something that needs to be remedied as well. Everything on there has some defect, whether it's root involved or, like the DPW director said, EAB affected. It's mainly EAB. It's only going to get worse. So yeah, that's.
And you've spoken to the homeowners? Permission is required? Is that
I have not. My coworkers have gained permission for all the trees
Okay.
for property end.
When is the cutting anticipated to take place?
My hope would be January or February.
Okay. Do we have any comments or questions from members of the board?
No, I'll just make note that I did have an opportunity to view the area, and they have been decimated. The emerald ash borer works very, very quickly.
Yep.
And it's very invasive.
Right, the trees were identified. Did anybody else go out and take a look?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Go ahead, Phil.
The only thing that I used the sheet that was in our packet, and the only question that I had was, or a comment. I mean, usually in the past when I've got these, it was very easy to kind of identify where the trees were.
Okay.
There were photographs that were in here. The photographs, there's no way that the photographs that I received, I can relate to what they are.
Okay.
The only thing that I was able to do with this was when I looked at this, I was able to determine which end you started on.
Okay.
And fortunately, I had been on this road the last time it started from the other end.
A different project.
Right. That started from the other end of the road, so I was able to determine where this started on the end. And it was very, very hard to identify the trees as they were on here.
Okay.
The very first one was on 14 Merrill, and I spoke to the owner. And the owner did say that he had signed a release or approval to have the tree cut. That indicates another tree over here, but I couldn't find them all. I even got out and I looked, and I did find some of the blue and
The blue
white.
tape can break it.
Right. But my point going is I have no relationship on here where these trees are to the properties, because when I go by the properties, I'm looking at driveways, I'm looking at numbers, I'm looking at houses, and it's very difficult to pick these out. When I got to the tree that's up here, it says 25-inch
Yep.
tree that's up here on where the line goes up. I don't know technically what you call it, but it's an offshoot or an
Yeah,
arm
yeah,
or a leg,
yeah.
dog leg. Well, I was looking right down there, and I couldn't find a tree down there on the right-hand side, but up by the road, to the left of the two mailboxes, there's a
There's a tree.
large tree that's got a flag on it. So I'm looking at the photos that I'm given. I can't relate the photos to where I'm
That's a fair criticism. I'll change that in the future.
on it. So that was all. But I did spend some time on it, and I did count the trees. It was very, very close to the number. I think there was one that may not have been, but I found some of it down on the brush. But other than that, they are bad. They are bad. I agree.
I'm not in the business of cutting down healthy trees. Believe me.
Right.
So Phil, are you satisfied, or do you feel like you need to go back out there with the representative?
No, I'm okay. The only point that I was making, Eversource comes into us a lot, and they're always very well prepared with what they have. They have the photos and we identified where the transmission lines are. We can follow it. I never, and I've had these in the past where I've been able to go down and I've been able to look at that, and I can say, yeah, this is this, and I can pick out the trees. And I can see the issues. this was the first time I had difficulty,
I apologize.
so.
I think the GPS location was off a little. When I was out there, I kind of geospatially compared to being out there, so that might be part of the problem that,
I think numbering the pictures would probably help a lot better.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and keying them to the plan, yes.
Dave?
I've been to this street 3 times, made a little diagram of where I thought all the trees were, and I have found no redeeming qualities in the trees that were marked.
Right.
Okay. Go.
Just a question for you, Andrew. For the inches on top of the permission to cut, are those diameters?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I thought, sorry.
Okay, the board has no more questions or comments. We're going to ask you to step down and we'll open the public hearing.
Sure.
So this is a public hearing. Anyone is welcome to come one at a time up to the microphone. You may state your name for the record, or you're required to state your name for the record. Address as well, or just name?
Address.
Address, name and address. And then this is not a back and forth. We are just taking public comment, and then we will choose to take your comments and look at them at the end of the public hearing. So. We don't bite.
My name is Joseph Goodrow Jr. I live at 98 Merrill Road. I just inherited the house from my folks and passed away in the last 2 years. Mr. and Mrs. Coughlin can verify. I know the area. I grew up in the neighborhood. I have an oak tree and part of a branch from another oak tree overhanging the wires that, I don't know if Eversource or whoever did it, and they moved the pole back 2.5 feet from where the mailboxes are. Now all the lines are underneath the branches. I won't cut them.
Sure.
Some of them have a lot of leaves on them. They get heavy snow on it. That one oak tree, all the limbs are on that one side of the tree that faces the road. It goes down, takes the wires out. I would like to have it removed if possible.
I think perhaps you would need to speak to the gentleman in the back of the room or to Eversource, and he can tell you the way to do that.
The last time that Eversource was up there, there was a tree crew up there, and I asked them, they were removing branches and stuff, and they said they couldn't do anything about it until they got hold of their supervisors.
Right.
And that's the last time I heard anything.
Right. I would imagine that's correct because they do what they're required, what they're told to do when they're out there. I don't have a contact for Eversource right in front of me in our paperwork, but we can definitely try to follow up and make that connection for you if you'd like.
I would appreciate it because, like I said, I got the house, I started to limb the trees because my father's yard, water comes out of it year round. And every time you drive a truck on the lawn, you sink. So I want to get rid of some of the oak trees to hopefully dry it out a little bit. But when they move the pole back, the top wires are underneath the limbs. I
I'm
do
sure
not want
Eversource
to cut
would want
those
you to
limbs
be-
and have them hit the wires.
No, no one wants
and
that.
stuff like that. So
Yeah, Eversource has what they call a vegetation maintenance arm of their company that takes care of vegetation maintenance, so
Well,
they'd be the ones to.
my father called them before he passed away, and they said they're not responsible for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, David.
Is there any leeway for us to add 2 trees that would be fronting 98 Merrill Road to this project?
I don't know the process for that.
It sounds like he just wants a couple
Yeah, it
limbs
just sounds like
removed.
that.
I don't think he wants the trees removed.
I'm not, even if they just limb the limbs off,
Yeah.
Right.
I can take the tree down myself, just come along to a next tree and pull it over. But I'm not, the limbs on that one oak tree are all overhanging the wires,
Yeah.
and all the weight's going that way.
I think it sounds like if it's a good opportunity, there's a gentleman in the back of the room that works for Eversource and you can connect with him. I think that it's not necessarily germane to this particular hearing on these trees, but I do think, and I think to maybe your point, David, that if this is just, I don't see that Eversource would have to come back for permission to take down those additional trees. If they're just doing limbs on that, it doesn't sound like that's removal. So I don't think it's another public hearing on a scenic road, but I'd recommend you maybe catch the ear of the gentleman in the back of the room and.
Oh, that's why I'm here, because
Yeah.
my father tried calling Eversource and push this button, push that button, and my father didn't have much patience
Yeah.
for it. So,
I can understand.
that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Do we, I know we're still in public comment, does this need to be read into the record, the email that was?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that later.
I know, yeah.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dan Goldschmidt. I'm here with my wife Stephanie. We live at 68 Merrill Road, and we just purchased the property in the spring of last year, 2022.
Could you spell your last name to be sure I get it proper?
I'm sorry, the spelling,
Yeah.
Goldschmidt.
Got it, thank you.
And so the property, for those of you who don't know, is the old Mount Pleasant house, the Henry Merrill house that was in the Merrill family for 150 years. And we're, thrilled to be here in Goffstown and to be, taking that property into the future, and we hope preserving it. My understanding, one of the things when we got here just about 18 months ago was all these dead trees along our property, and I think if not a majority, at least a plurality of the trees on the application here are along our road frontage. And we were immediately concerned about the hazards of those trees potentially falling on us or cars or our dog or neighbors, and then also the electrical reliability. I'm sure a lot of you had power out the day before Thanksgiving, on Thanksgiving. I mean, there's a big problem with limbs falling on lines, and so we've been, the gentleman from Eversource, Andy King, mentioned that some of this was customer generated. I was one of those customers that was agitating to get this going. And my understanding is that this was actually, this permission was applied for and granted back in 2019, and then the pandemic happened, and Eversource didn't go forward for a variety of reasons. And the reason, or one of the reasons anyway, that Eversource came back to renew the permission was that property had changed hands on the street, and they wanted to make sure that property owners, the current slate of property owners, were in favor. And I just wanted to say, on behalf of the property associated with a lot of those trees, that we're wholeheartedly in favor. We think it's good for public safety and for reliability of electric service. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Barbara Griffin, Merrill Road. I think it's safe to say that there are a number of people here from Merrill Road, and no one is speaking up because they're all in favor of it. So I'll just say that, and it might make the public hearing a little quicker.
Thank you, Barbara. We do have, I just don't remember my glasses, it's ridiculous. We do have an email from someone that says, from Jason Coate. Unfortunately, sorry, go ahead. Cody, thank you. Unfortunately, I'm unable to join the planning board meeting. Could you please share this with them? I want to state for the tree on my property at 18 Merrill Road, I'm in favor of allowing them to cut it down. It's completely dead and could come down onto the lines. Okay, so if there's no one else that wishes to speak on this matter, I will close the public hearing. Last chance? Okay. Board, what do we have to deliberate? Comments, suggestions, make a motion?
Do we need findings of fact for this, or is this just, we can make a motion?
Have findings of fact.
We don't
have,
have,
do we?
we can just make a motion.
Yeah, we don't. No.
Yeah, I would move to approve the request to remove 17 trees on Merrill Road pursuant to RSA 231, semicolon 158.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion and seconded. Anybody have any comments or objections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It carries. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. Welcome to stay. It's going to be super fun. All right. Super. Moving on. So, as we mentioned, the 66 Tenney Road, which is listed next on our agenda, was moved to the January 25th meeting, so that will not be heard. So you're moving to map 20, lot 16. Site plan subdivision conditional use permit application for Stinson Hills, 26-unit residential condominium development, aka Dearborn Village. Proposals: 1 duplex unit building, 4 3-unit buildings, and 3 4-unit buildings that will be located off 443 Mast Road, Davis Park Road. It is zoned residential and small business office District 2. This is a continuation from the November 16th meeting. All right, I think I've got this. Do we have any more? Subdivision review for proposal to subdivide lot 8-1 into 2 lots. Serviced by private septic and well, contains 15 acres, 2 means of access.
I think you're talking the wrong one there.
Yeah,
that's not the same.
Oh, you're right. Thank
It
you.
is, I got the wrong plans.
Oh, no. There we go. Let's stick them. That one sounded awfully different. There we go. Let's try this again. So, okay.
So, you
Patty,
have
I'm gonna
not
let you lead
accepted
that
this as
one.
complete yet. This is the first that's come in here because it has been continued. We do not have the bylaws and the condominium documents. We do have the building floor plans. They're on the back, that we did have those when they were submitted. They're part of the packet. So what you need to determine is how you're gonna handle, if you're gonna let them do conceptually, you're gonna accept it as complete, knowing that this is gonna come down the road later. That's up to the board's decision how they wanna handle that.
Okay, so we heard it before, but we heard it as
You have not heard this
This is the
yet.
first time.
This is the first time. Yep.
I gotta read my notes better.
This is the first time.
Okay, all right.
So I don't know what the past practice of the board has been. I would be concerned with accepting something as complete and starting a 65-day time clock if we don't have condominium documents. It looks like there's a easement and a description that was maybe due to the planning department. I'd be amenable just, to hearing this conceptually and having a discussion on it, but I don't know about starting the 65-day time clock if we have items that we're still waiting on.
And just continue the completeness review.
I'd continue
to
the
another
completeness
meeting.
review to the next meeting. Just a suggestion.
Yeah.
I would suggest continuing the completeness review to the next meeting, but let's, hear the presentation and we can give some feedback on what we've got so far.
Yeah, it does seem like we have a lot of comments and issues here, so.
Yeah, so that is the outstanding, is the bylaws and the declaration of covenants.
Barbara?
I appreciate the applicant's response in regards to the traffic impact study. So that appears to have been dealt with. I think I went through, I don't know that I had any outstanding questions after looking at that. Yes, you talked about a couple of other things, but the one issue that sort of I'm looking at is there is a corner on this lot that we have dealt with in discussion every time something for this lot has been before this board. And there is no pin there. And there used to be a pin, and there isn't. And my recollection of reading the town administrator's, the planning director's report is that those buildings to the right, as you would drive in, are right on the setback, which is dependent on the line as drawn. So I've got concerns with that. The other thing is, I was sort of surprised, to tell you the truth, at the volume of the fire department comments on this. That it seemed to me that they felt, and maybe Scott can address it better, or we're having a conceptual, so we're not getting into the details, but as for completeness, it seemed to me that there might have been some things in regards to that still needed to be worked on. So anyways, those two things sort of struck me in regards to review of this.
Patty, can I clarify something? So in our notes on page 9, it says boundary dispute sheet 1 of 25. This sheet is not being recorded, shows a note. I was told I would have a copy of this document. The deed description has not been provided. Was that provided?
No,
Okay.
you didn't provide it, correct?
For the easement?
For
I
the
can address a
boundary-
lot of this stuff that you're
yeah.
talking about, because this seems way off base. I'm
There's a
surprised what I'm
bound,
hearing here tonight. So
she
I'd like
spoke to the butter, and there's a boundary line dispute, but I don't know if she's related to the applicant, I don't know if they.
Oh, no,
touch
I
base.
can answer
You
all
know
that,
that,
yeah.
okay.
Okay. So
Let me,
hold the
let me
thought.
just give an overview if I
Hold the
can.
thought. Wait, are we accepting this for completeness, or are we accepting it as a conceptual for discussion?
I would like it to be for completeness. That's what I'd like to talk
I'm
about.
not asking you.
I-
I'm sorry. I'm asking the board.
I
What
believe
you've
the
heard is
board's
not-
going forward conceptually. I also want to know, I don't believe some of the comments have been updated from the fire department. Is that correct, Scott? I don't think she received,
I didn't see the fire comments
I don't think
until
she
tonight,
received
so,
updated comments.
Okay.
uh,
So does somebody want to do we need to make a motion if we're just going with his conceptual and not accept it as complete?
Can we hear from the applicant before you make that determination?
No.
Well, your plan is not here and you've got information you were told that's not, I mean, we've submitted the condo docs. I'm sorry Joanne didn't have them, but I've submitted them. I have an email that they were
When
submitted.
did they get
We
submitted?
we
Well,
can't look at
I
them
need to
though if
figure
they're
that.
not in front of us.
Well, they should be. That's why I'm
Right.
confused that they're not here. So that's why. And then the second thing I just wanted to dispute you're talking about, there's no dispute with the property. We've worked with the owner. His attorney and our attorney are working together on the easement that's there. But we have the plan from 1989 and our plan. We've overlaid the two and we've showed the abutter and that. And there is a bound at the corner that's there. So I'm a little confused what people are saying, that's all. So I'd like a little more information before you just say, let's go conceptual, because and then you say the fire department, we addressed their 5 comments.
Well, we haven't gotten into the merits of the application yet because we're still questioning if we have enough information
Right.
tonight to discuss this.
Yep.
If the board feels like the lack of information is enough that we didn't need to discuss this conceptually, which seems to be where people are heading, I need a consensus from the board.
I'll talk about it conceptually to get the information on the record, and then if I feel like things are in a different place, then a motion to accept can be made. As far as I'm concerned, that's still on the agenda. So, I mean, I'm okay with going forward on a discussion in some formats. But I have concerns about the 65-day clock also, so.
Okay.
I think just being clear that if we start with a discussion, this is a conceptual discussion, non-binding only, and if at some point the board decides this evening that there is sufficient information here that we're accepting this as complete, I guess we can put that back on the table, but for now,
I think-
non-binding discussion.
I think that's the
only.
direction we want to go, and we don't need to make a motion to do that because we're not accepting it yet. Okay, so there's consensus on the board that we're going to talk about this conceptually to start, and we'll see where it goes.
Sounds good.
So, go ahead. I'll give you the floor now.
All right. Good evening, Matt Peterson, Keach Norsham Associates, here with LaMontagne Builders, proposing the site plan at the location at 443 Mast Road. This site was in front of you a bunch of years back that had townhomes approved on it with an office space as well. LBI has purchased the property. We have worked due diligently with the planning staff over the last probably 8 months or so, going through some of the regulations on setbacks and stuff like that to make sure that this all made sense. And then, as has been brought up, there was a concern at the time, I guess, about the abutter property line, which I don't really understand how it got so blown out of proportion. Mike Dahlberg's office back in the day did a boundary. We've done a boundary. The 2 boundaries are off by about 0.1 inches there, so there's really no discrepancy on that. That's just time that has gone by. The abutter Dana has worked with them. Dana's with LBI Builders. He's worked back and forth with them. We've agreed they have a driveway on our property. We've agreed to give them an easement. That easement is on this plan because that's what Joanne wanted before I could show up here. So that easement is on this plan. The meets and bounds and that will be worked out with the 2 attorneys right now. The abutter has changed attorneys during this process. I think we've heard some of the things from this attorney. We don't know why he's changed it, but it's now with his other attorney. And again, I've showed the easements on the plan. We don't feel that there's any boundary issues. He doesn't feel there's any boundaries issues with us. I believe all that's been worked out, so that is off the table. I don't unfortunately have the condo docs right in front of me, so I thought I'd submit everything to Joanne. I will check my email train tomorrow, but that's neither here nor there on this project moving forward. As far as a 65-day clock, I mean, we don't have any problem waiving that. That's in this day and age, I don't know how many planning boards actually approve a project of mine in 65 days anyway. So that's not an issue that we're sitting here tonight saying we need this thing and going to hold you guys to that type of stuff there. The parcel is approximately 3.658 acres in size. We are allowed 26.1 or so, 26.2 units. We have 26 units shown on the property. We have a small wetland off between Dennis Park Road and our property. We met with conservation to talk about that there, even though we're not impacting that at all. There's no grading into the buffer of that. What I explained to the Conservation Commission is currently there's a stream that comes down around here, comes down to this location here, comes underneath Mass Road, comes down through our property, goes through a culvert right here, and then they basically made a lawn out of it. They've got a little swale that runs right down here. I didn't chase it past this point here, but this basically becomes a lawn in that location there. But it is I would say probably a roadside drainage swale, probably a stream at some point back in the day before the roads got put in. But again, that wetland is off our property. The buffer is on our property. We have stayed outside of that buffer. This does require AOT approval. So we had the soils mapped on site, did the required test pits to make sure those soils are accurate. This package has been sent up to the DES. It got accepted last week that everything is there and complete. So they have started the review. We obviously have not had any comments come back from them yet. The reason we're here now and not when we first started this back in September is that we had submitted a traffic memo that I thought met the intent of the requirement you were looking for. However, because we're over the 22 units at 26, it was determined that we should do a full traffic study. So we hired GPI out of Bedford. They did the full traffic study. That's been submitted to the town for review, and it's going to, in my understanding, to the DOT, even though there's no DOT permit. But you guys asked us to have them look at it.
We need to update the Mast Road driveway permit because of the change of use, is what I was told by Ryan Warsman, is the assistant engineer for District 5. So when I spoke to him about this, he said the town would need to update our driveway permit of 114A at 114.
Okay, that's where this is coming from.
So that's where this is coming from.
Okay.
Apparently, we're supposed to do that anytime something new happens on Mast Road.
Really? I was going to say, this is new to me on that road there. Okay, I've done a few things down there.
Yeah.
But anyway, GPI, they're tied in with DOT. Unfortunately, right now, DOT pretty much has no staff, and we haven't been able to get anything out of them. So I guarantee it'll be a condition if this does go a few months out that they get the final sign-off from them on that there. But we submitted all that information. Came back as we thought it was going to come back. I mean, the traffic on this site here, we're looking at about 31 trips in the morning, 24 exiting, 7 entering.
Okay, can I just say something, Madam Chair? I think we've gone from conceptual to discussing the plan. If we're, Matt, I think tried to address the issues that we had raised. And I think that if the board thinks that things are addressed to the point we can have a conceptual, a hearing, we should accept it so he can get into the plan. But before we make that decision, was this the one that, it turns out there's going to be a waiver needed, but you don't have any problem with it?
Yes, and
Says we don't need a waiver.
What's the waiver?
Oh,
so the
did you provide
bioretention
it?
one.
The
In your response,
bioretention?
you said you'd apply for the waiver, but when I sent my comments to Joanne, I asked her if one had been submitted, and I didn't hear back.
Because
I had
that
some
deals with
time
the
off
motion
last
for
week, so-
acceptance.
I wasn't under the impression I was still asking for a waiver. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't think
I
we
mean, if you're
did it
still
'cause it-
asking for it, that's fine, but
Right.
if we're going to talk about accepting it, we need
Yeah,
to
no, I
know that
understand.
when we accept it.
Yeah, your comment response said acknowledged,
right.
or I forget exactly what it said, but.
Right. No, and when we sat with the TRC, that was a discussion we had. I agree with you. But for acceptance tonight, I don't think I've submitted a formal waiver request to you guys on that there. I think we said we were requesting it, but I don't think that's in your package. I apologize.
But we're talking about the bioretention.
That's what
one,
it was reading.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And Scott, the traffic study was reviewed by VHB.
Right.
Yes.
Have you seen those comments back?
I didn't know they had comments yet, no.
I forwarded
You probably just got
to
them.
Joanne. I got them last week. They all have them.
Right.
I may have marked up my copy. I do have some markups in it. So basically, they found that the process and everything was good. The one thing that they pointed out was the queues extend beyond your entrance, so they recommend some type of treatment, whether it's painting a do not block intersection. And then they also recommended we consult with DOT to see if they want any mitigation at the signal. I can't imagine they would, because when you look at the overall addition to the traffic, it's really just a few cars in the peak hour, so the real problem is there's a lot of traffic at that intersection in the first place. So I think the do not block intersection would help the residents there to get in and out. So that's probably what we'd be looking for. I do need to confirm with Adam Jacobs, the DPW director, that he's on board with that. But it's something we can work out. I don't see any problems with the traffic study from, I think what's there can be addressed, and if DOT has further comments once they see it, I think that they're things that can be addressed easily.
And the do not block would help the existing road that's out there.
Correct, yeah, so it would help both, because
'Cause
you
we lined it up
kind of
across,
lined them
right,
up
yeah.
across from each
Yeah.
other, even with that
Makes
skew.
sense.
Okay, so to sum up, we have response for the traffic study. You haven't seen them. However, Scott feels like those could be resolved.
Yes.
We have a potential waiver application that's somewhere in space, maybe. It's not in front of us tonight. We have condominium docs that are not provided. Joanne's note was also building floor plans have not been provided.
They are here.
Yeah, building.
They're here.
Were they provided today?
No, they were provided when he submitted.
Okay,
They're on the back, they're the ones that have the layouts.
okay. So, board, what do we want to do? What do we want to move? Do we want to move forward, or do we want to postpone this and accept it in the January meeting?
Kimberly, it's not entirely clear to me where we're at with the boundary. I mean, boundary lines and accurate depiction of boundary lines is really important to what we do. And I've heard one surveyor, another surveyor, they're off by an inch, they're almost there, they're good enough. If we got a plan that's stamped by a licensed land surveyor.
That's what, our plan is stamped and we're comfortable with that. We're not changing it. That's what I'm getting at. I don't understand
So
where there's a
where did the
discrepancy. We've stamped our plan, this is where the boundary is, we're done with it. There's no boundary issue.
I mean, if we look at sheet one, we've
Somebody
got,
must
we've
be
got a
the-
stamped plan.
Somebody must be disputing the boundary.
No, Joanne wanted us to, he has driveways on our property.
Got it.
She wanted us to give us easements or resolve that. We originally thought we'd move them, tell them to get them off our property.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to do that. So Bob said, listen, I'll just give him these two easements that we showed on the plan, that are on my plan, as easements for this guy, so he doesn't have to move his driveway and there's walls that are there. Apparently, he didn't know where his boundary was and put the driveway on our property. That's the dispute. The boundary hasn't
Okay.
changed. He's got a mag that we found. There's a bound in the front and there's a bound in the back. Like,
So
they're
it's not-
all there.
It's not the boundary that's being disputed, it's a feature relative to the
Yes.
boundary.
An encroachment
Thank you. An
onto their-
encroachment
Okay,
on
well,
our
that's
property.
entirely different.
Yeah, that's the
But-
big issue that Joanne wanted us to
But
resolve.
Joanne's comment was, we needed a deed description. Proposed driveway easement for the benefit and the deed description have not been provided. I see that you have it on the plan, but I don't feel like necessarily we have all the documentation to
The
back.
attorneys have not signed the deeds that they've written yet, so
I
I
don't
have
think
not
we
submitted.
need anything executed, we just need to know that there's draft language that's been agreed, and I think that the condominium declaration and bylaws not being at least submitted in a draft form that we have here tonight. I know there's some dispute over what was submitted or what was not, and that there's a waiver potentially being requested, that we don't have a written waiver. I understand, and I think it's difficult because, you know, our planner is, you know, not able to be here this evening, and understandably so, but it just seems that there's been some misunderstanding and some information that's not included here that would normally be checklist information. So I would not be comfortable accepting this application as complete, but that's just my thought for the reason of the condominium declaration, the waiver, and at least a draft of the easement, same as the draft of the condominium documents.
I mean, if it helps you, we can go through the other outstanding issues so that you're
I
aware
was just
of
gonna
what
say, I
you
have
need to
no
come in for
problem.
the next meeting.
Right, I have no problem if that's where you're going, but I'd love to have some discussion about the project so that I know to come back next month and I can answer most of your questions with being here tonight.
Well, we can definitely have a non-binding discussion if you want to.
And Scott, have you seen any of the bylaws?
I have not.
Like
no.
a-
I typically don't review them.
You don't, she
No.
would, she doesn't like
Yeah.
to copy. I mean, I can go up and do a check if you want.
Well, I can tell you as of Tuesday, they weren't here, and so,
Okay.
you know, we're not usually getting into the bylaws, you know, the document discussions at this.
At this early
even if
anyway.
it's accepted, so, and most of the time,
That's why I was thinking it
That's
was
left.
okay to accept with they waive the 65-day clock, because in the past, you don't always have those documents right at the beginning, and you get them as you move into the hearing. If they're willing to waive the 65-day clock, my personal opinion is I didn't see an issue.
I need a vote from the table. What do we want to do? Are we accepting this or are we? I'm not comfortable accepting it. I'd be happy to go through the comments as a conditional.
Well, I think we've had 2 people say they're not comfortable and 3 people maybe, so as long as we go through everything and the applicant will come back, they don't need, we're just continue this, so they don't need to renotice it.
Right, right.
And quite honestly, there's no zoning changes that I saw, so I'm not
Yeah,
sitting,
nothing.
there's
Yeah,
nothing I'm
nothing.
worried about it, but I would like to use this opportunity if we can while we're here in a quieter night to maybe go through, if you guys have concerns or comments that you can throw out to me, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think since we have everybody here, we ought to continue going through the comments, so.
And you have the butters here, too.
Guidance to the applicant.
So there was a comment about no outdoor recreation or indoor clubhouse has been included?
We had showed on the plans that were submitted there to you guys, revised plan, a proposed playground area behind units 14, 15, and 16.
What page are you looking at?
That'd be sheet 4. This location right here.
Is there actually an intent to construct a playground area there?
We have not put anything back there. We wanted to come and have discussions with the board to see where the board was going with it. People go back and forth on different things they're looking for on all our different projects, so I kind of wanted to get the flavor for this board, and that's what Bob was as well, and kind of see where you guys were at with that.
So you're on sheet 4, Matt? did you
Sheet
say?
4, yes.
Yeah, that's right up in this location. Yep.
I guess the one thing I would say about that is having it right over that system, does it require any type of, concrete footings into the ground that would?
So I've been
interfere
told
with
that
the
everything
system?
from the playgrounds and that type of stuff can be put on it. A dog park is probably not what you want there because
Yeah.
them doing that and
Yeah.
going into your drainage system.
Okay,
But
I
other
would
than
just-
that, I've been told that we can do stuff.
Okay, perfect. It just kind of popped into my head right now.
And just to talk about the clubhouse, one of the biggest things we're seeing with all the homeowners associations now, after planning board approval and projects get built, a lot of towns are requiring me to meet with the homeowners association, DPW, and planning department before we hand over the keys to them. At that point, they find out that their clubhouse has required yearly inspections, fire department stuff, all the maintenance with their clubhouse, where all these people have most of their people in their houses. So on a project this size, a clubhouse ends up being a lot of cost for the homeowners. So there's a balance there as well too. So again, one of the things that we've seen the last 3 to 4 years is obviously this housing crunch. All right, everybody's looking for units and stuff like that. I've been saying this to cities of Manchester, Merrimack, Milford. If every single project is built exactly perfect, then these guys are going to charge that number. If everything's a little bit different, I got a project in Manchester, I got 9 parking spaces for 14 units. They approved it because they're going to charge less for rent because they don't have parking spaces for 4 of their units. There are going to be more people on bikes. If they had 2 parking spaces for every unit, they would have people with more money to move in there. So again, I think boards should be looking at how projects fit into your neighborhoods and who they support. And maybe not every single person sitting here or everybody in the audience, but people that need places to go and stuff like that. So again, when we put this stuff together, it's a balance on what we can sell them for, what's the infrastructure cost, and where can you put the units there. If the board doesn't feel that way, that's fine too, but that's just what we've been seeing out there and trying to put diversity in the housing market to give everybody opportunities to kind of do so. But again, we're not opposed. We're here tonight to hear your comments. I know you've seen this once before with a different, product. That one, if you remember, it was kind of more of a straight road coming in and kind of barracks on each side. I got these guys to agree to my cul-de-sac that I designed about 8, 9 years ago in Merrimack that kind of adds a very nice look when you come into the development. It's not dead ends. You're not turning around on, most of them have a T at the end. This one has a little aesthetically pleasing. We tried to muse the buildings and make it as you came around. It was much more aesthetically pleasing than the last approved project in my opinion. But there's a balance on everything that we put out there.
Patty, can you remind me, do we have a set process where if we said we would rather have, say, Parks and Rec fee donation as opposed to a play area? Do we have a process for that?
Well, you get a recreational impact fees.
I mean, they pay the impact fee, right?
It's
right.
part of the impact fee. No, I've never recalled that you've asked for a recreational,
But those are for public recreational facilities,
Yeah.
not private.
Right.
I mean,
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
and not every condominium has the recreation.
Right, right. Go ahead, Barbara.
What's the issue on the drainage? I know that the applicant has talked about they're out of the wetlands, that what they're in the setback area, but I know that there are some drainage concerns on this site.
So from my previous comments, they addressed 99% of them, and I have one comment left on the drainage, and it's some surcharging pipes.
Okay.
So that's something they should be able to remedy.
We had shown most of the pipes as 12-inch pipes. They were surcharging the 50-year storm,
Yeah.
so we've been changing them to 15 and 18-inch pipes, so there's no more
Okay,
surcharging.
so there's no more.
Yeah, they pretty much got all the comments on the drainage. Like I said, there's just one left.
Was there a drainage study done?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's a pretty substantial
Like
one.
I said, this is going to AOT, so this meets AOT requirements. This meets state drainage requirements. Well,
Have you seen the fire department comments?
just the 5 here, that's why I was, what are you guys looking at?
Do you have a comment on the individual driveways should be sized to accept full-size vehicles?
I do that on all my projects.
The
They're 20 feet wide. Minimum is 20 feet deep. What does he want, width or depth?
I don't know what the concern is if they're 20 feet. The driveways shown are 20 feet long. Individual driveways should be sized to accept full-size vehicles. Driveway size for smaller vehicles results in parked vehicles interfering with emergency vehicle movement.
We said everything was 20 feet long, so typical trucks are 16 and a half. I try to make, I know some of the other projects here are like 10 feet. You know, you've got to have 2 cars parking in front of the garage. Doesn't make sense not to do that. Ours all do.
Okay.
And they do have visitor parking. There's
Yeah, no, I did notice
spaces.
that. Okay.
So,
Relocate the second hydrant further into the site, preferably north side of the
Took care
island.
of. Okay.
Water mains to be properly sized for fire hydrants. Dumpster locations not shown.
Again, we've addressed all these and sent a revised, all the plans you're looking at have these addressed already in this comment. So yeah, we already addressed all the fire comments in there.
So
I don't believe
I-
she received revised comments from the fire department. They did receive the plans, but I don't believe they submitted the comments back to her.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Captain Connor was out until, well, I guess he was back the 11th, so, but you wouldn't have had comments by now.
Right.
So I had one comment on fire. The truck, so on the actual turning templates that you did, the truck said it was supposed to be 45 and a half feet long. When I scale it, the one that went through is only 31 feet. So you'll have to rerun it with the proper truck. And I believe ours is 47 feet, so I'll send you the cut sheet for it.
That'd be great. I have a new tech that did that for me, and today we were doing the fire truck in Hooksett, and he pulled the Goffstown one they did for years. He's like, oh, Matt, I don't think I had the right truck.
So,
I knew about that about 3 hours ago.
okay.
But yes, this passes the regular truck. I've done this in Merrimack and
Yeah.
signed off on that, so I don't.
Yeah, we just want to make sure
It has
it's
to
all,
be updated. No,
all set.
About 3 hours ago, I got told that.
Okay, so if you have seen the comments and you've responded to them,
Yeah, we resubmitted everything with all the comments addressed. Again, there'll be another round of comments, I get that, but
right?
we've gone through
Does
it once.
anybody else see any other comments or questions that we want to point out?
What is, and I think I saw this comment in here, did you do something for school bus pickup? What's gonna happen, because they can't go on the private road? Are there any arrangements for,
They said there was already a bus stop there.
So Dana from LBI talked to the bus company, and they said there was already pickup at that location there, so we didn't go any further than that. If you'd like something different on that, we can add something to that. We're seeing less and less children at these developments, believe it or not. Most of the children are at the single-family homes we're finding. We just did 216 units in Milford, and this study showed that there would be 28 kids out of the 216 units.
How many bedrooms were there?
They were 3 and 2 and 1. We had a mix up there.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that there's not gonna, it's not like you're gonna get 2 kids per unit, it's certainly not thing. But I do think if we're gonna have additional, children down there waiting, I don't know what the situation is right now, but I know that we did have
There are kids
another.
going to school from that
Yeah,
location.
there are gonna be, students there, it's right on Mass Road, it would be nice if there was at least some sort of arrangement for something.
I'll take a look
Just
at
a
it.
little bit off the road, maybe.
Well, I think they pick up the kids across the street at the end of the road, at the corner of Mass Road. I don't think the school bus
Yeah.
turns down that road either.
They do, they pick them up right at
On the
Timberwood.
street.
They pick them up right at the corner of Lynchville Park.
Yeah.
Right.
They go right down the whole road.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And you were at the Conservation Commission meeting, so you heard the Conservation Commission comments?
Yep.
I think there were comments and a concern that I share is, snow storage, and I assume there's some notes on the plan that you're just gonna be planning on taking snow off-site, or,
We showed a
what are
few
you gonna do?
places
Put a
on site,
couple-
but you're right. The
There's not a
majority's
lot.
gonna have to be removed off-site. It's funny, the last couple of days, everybody's talking about how less snow we're getting, and I just feel like this year we're probably gonna get pummeled, because everybody thinks we're not getting any snow anymore, so.
So will something like that show up in the condo docs, that, if they overpile snow, it needs to be removed?
It's typically on our plans, but it's
Yeah.
something that we can,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think that would be a maintenance issue we'd wanna see in the docs.
Question, Matt, can you explain on the units what the bump out on what I will refer to as the back, these proposed patios, and to the extent you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of boundary cut lines, and explain where they lay within them?
oh, yes.
Setback.
The setback lines,
Lines.
gotcha. Yep. So if you turn to sheet 4, so your requirement has your setbacks based on the side of the building that's most parallel to that property line. So originally I had them a little bit different, sent it to Joanne, we worked back and forth that these ones have those setbacks. So what I did is try to give the board a little bit of an understanding of which each setback was as you went by for which each unit. The 2-unit building only requires 23.5-foot setback, so in the bottom right-hand corner here, you have the numbers of 23.5 feet. A 3-unit requires 35.25, and a 4-unit requires 47. So I could have just cut them where they were for the 4-unit and that, but I thought it made sense to show you all the setbacks that were there. The patios in the back are patios on the majority of the right side of the units, because they're they're unders, and then the patio's up on the second. And then on the left side, on this side of these units here, they're actually porches, because they're gonna be walkouts. Decks, I'm sorry, decks, my bad. Those are decks on that side there. And then Joanne asked us to do the privacy fence between them as well. So like say, units 8, 9, and 10, the patio for 8 is in the building setback, but it's a patio, so it doesn't meet the requirement for that to be there. Now you see the line going through it, that's for the 4-unit, and that really could be taken off there. I probably should just left it on the other side, but again, I was trying to just be consistent with lot.
No, now that you explained it, I'm okay with it. It's frankly helpful, but.
All right, so, you see up in the corner right here, on sheet 4, is sheet 4, right? Yeah, sheet 4. Up in the left-hand corner, it says 4-unit setback, 3-unit setback, 2-unit setback. Tried to give you some information there.
I have a question for you, Scott. This skew of the road coming into Mass Road, that's okay?
So our regs are 60 degrees, I think.
Okay,
I tried to measure it in Bluebeam, and it's like right there.
okay.
This is the exact same access you approved last time.
Yeah,
I used the exact same driveway coming in.
Was that addressed in the traffic study? Were there any concerns about that particular angle?
So I don't know if he addressed it in the traffic study, but when he was scoping the work for me, I sent him the original traffic study and the original plan set that I got, and he mentioned it to me, but I told him it technically meets our regs, so we can't push back on it unless, it's hard to say, hey, you followed our regs, but we still want you to change it.
And at an intersection with DOT road,
It's
DOT
60
doesn't
degrees.
have any.
That's not, that's
that's
our
not-
road. DOT road is here.
Oh,
So
okay.
the driveway permit that we need is our road to the DOT road.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha,
but
okay.
yes, it's 60 degrees, and like I said, when I measured the angle, it's right there. Like, when I measured it off a degree off of 60, so.
Yeah, it feels like you're gonna have that awkward, like, looking over your shoulder to, but if it meets the reg, it meets the reg, but that's,
Yeah.
Right,
Maybe it's something we look at changing
right.
for future projects, obviously, it doesn't
Yeah,
affect
yeah.
us.
And the recommendation of the traffic, the review engineer, I think that, don't block intersection striping, I mean, it's worth it, maybe it'll work, nobody pays attention to that,
Yeah.
nobody ever
I
follows it.
do, I personally do.
I mean, I always pay attention to that, but,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how effective it is, but I suppose it might help and, hopefully help, for the existing, road across the street too, but I don't know, I don't really know the effectiveness of it, but at least it's an attempt to do something.
Matt, explain why the mailbox is, to me, not a very good location, because it's right at the intersection going on the Mass Road.
Oh, actually, you've got not the revised, so that was when we had it down by the 4 units right
Yes.
here. Joanne asked us to move it to here,
Okay, thank you.
so we get away from the confusion of going there. I thought you were gonna say it was too far in the development, and the post office wouldn't come there. Unless you're going the other
Showed in the one on the
direction.
tables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my small set has
Yeah.
an
That's
old
okay.
version.
So yes,
Is the post office gonna have an issue with that being in front of those parking spaces? I mean, I suppose mailman's gonna have to hop on this truck anyways, so,
this is where we do them on the night. I like having a spot for somebody to park.
okay.
And they haven't said boo to me on that yet. They want to park it by now.
Is a covered mail box?
No,
Like
it's
the
just,
other- your present site on Mass Road? Right? You don't have,
similar one on Master, the other
yeah,
one.
open.
They want them open. Post office wants it open.
So we left the playscape and we didn't come back to it. We kind of drifted all over the place. I don't love them, so in my opinion, I don't think they're great, but I don't know. The play area.
Oh, play, okay.
Playscape, sorry. Conservation seemed to think it was a good idea, so.
I think you flip a coin in this day and age on who likes them and who doesn't. It's 50-50 across the board. And who uses them and doesn't, honestly, too.
I have a question.
Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, Matt, on the left side, you have a note that says proposed limit of clearing. Does that continue, it appears that it continues all the way around to the left hand of the property? I didn't see a notation on the right-hand side, but
So are you on sheet 3?
I'm on sheet 4.
So if you go back to sheet 3,
Okay.
that'll be our demos and removal plan. And what we have on this plan here
Right.
is your existing tree line here, your existing tree line in here, your existing tree line here that runs down to the property line right here.
Yep.
Existing tree line runs out like this, comes out like this and goes back. We're proposing to cut it back about 5 feet here, 15 feet there, 20 feet there. Keep the existing tree line all along the existing wetland, not touching any of that, it's already there. And then yes, back in here, we're taking out this area here, this clump of trees in the middle, and then the darker line is what the new limited clearing would be. One of the things that most of you can go back and Google Earth, about 10 years ago, you can see the different color of the trees right here. This whole piece was clear cut at one point, and you can see where they kind of went right back into there at one point. So again, some of it's kind of filled in a little bit there, but there's been a lot of interesting stuff, I think, on this site over the years lately,
Thank you.
including now.
So that raises the question, what is, if any, the landscaping requirement?
They have landscape.
Do you have it in your notes?
Yeah, it's on sheet 11. I was just gonna ask about landscape plan, because it looks like the counts, you did the calculations. The Conservation Commission had comments about incorporating native trees and shrubs, so I don't know if this plan has been changed, if you've changed the planting schedule from what they saw, or if you've looked at the species notes.
We did change this plan. I don't know if they've seen a final summary of that, so I will dot that I and take a look at that. We had originally had kind of all the trees just along the roadway in here, but I spread some out into the development a little bit after that meeting there, so they weren't just along the roads there. And also because of the fire hydrant and some transformers and stuff like that as well, to kind of move them out into, next to the units. But we use Terrain Design out of Hopkinton to do our landscape plans. They're licensed landscape architects. I think Romy does a wonderful job. She used to work for us. She hasn't for about the last 8 years, but again, this is the only thing everybody sees at the end of the day. Nobody sees my plans. So this is what you want to look nice, because it's the only thing anybody sees.
So your representation is that you've done the landscape calculations, you're providing actually in the shrub case more than required, and you've moved stuff around a little bit since conservation looked at it.
And the only thing I can verify is that I've changed out the trees to the right species, but I will check that.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're not gonna spec something that's not gonna live.
Not Liz, but lately they've been throwing in a couple like not invasive, but the list changes every month, it seems like. On
Yeah.
invasive. So, you're trying to keep up as best we can. It's like hay bales and straw bales. And they used to put straw and they hated that, and you had to put hay.
Question, Patty, the package referenced the applicant addressing the conditional use permit.
Yes.
And did I have that in my packet, or what had
Everything
it
was
been?
given you in the original, and so what I did was when I looked at what she was going over, I copied his letter from the original, when he submitted the conditional use permit, addressing.
Right, well, okay.
So it's passed out
We
tonight,
just got it tonight.
and so
Okay.
I put the front of the criteria and then his response.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was
Yeah,
out there.
he
'cause I
did address the
couldn't-
conditional use
And I have
criteria.
a pile with previous stuff, and I didn't see it. Okay.
It was in the September application, but I understand.
Yeah.
The
And
traffic
it-
report really pushed, we were coming with everything, and then that kind of
Yeah,
pushed us back.
that
and-
took over.
Which I think was right to do. I mean, you got it done, so.
So, maybe Matt or Patty has been keeping track. I've been trying to sort of see what is for the issues that we've talked about. So there needs to be a waiver for the bioretention plan, though it doesn't look like there's any problem with that. DPW is not objecting to it. The conditional use, we already have it, so we need to address it as a board. We don't have the easement docs, but that's being worked out, and we're having and we'll have a public hearing in regards to that, or anything. Moving this gives time for the docs to be submitted, which are usually subject to review as a condition of approval. The landscaping's been taken care of, the applicant is gonna check on the trees and conservation. The drainage issue, there's an agreement how that's
Yeah,
gonna
it
be
can be handled
changed, and that can be
administratively.
updated. Does anybody have anything else?
Fire department template.
Okay.
Snow-
Yeah, oh yeah, the fire department for the truck.
Snow storage in the condo docks. And the bus stop question in the park area. Is what I had.
And you're doing trash pickup individually from the
We're
barrels, you're
doing
not doing a
individually, yes.
dumpster location?
No, I'd rather do individuals.
Well, given the location and what's underneath the playscape area, I think a playscape area there is probably a good idea, actually.
Okay.
Because it prevents other types of uses over that area. Just leave it at that.
Somebody comment on it. Are you saying like the common area?
No, the
No.
play,
Playscape
I'm
behind.
sorry, I thought
Behind.
the playground. He has the label as
By the
playground.
Morgan Circle
Yeah,
end of it.
Okay,
proposed playground area.
okay, I see it.
Sure.
Matt, do you have a copy of all these same comments? Did Joanne send them to you? So
I
had-
sent them today.
Okay, so
I don't know if she did, but
Okay, I had two more things that I kind of wanted in the condo docs.
Yep.
And it's the stormwater operation and maintenance plan.
Yep.
And then I believe somewhere on the plans it talks about SnowPro.
Yep.
So one of the comments says, that I included, said, include a note for snow and ice control shall be performed by a Green Snow Pro certified contractor following best management practices for the application of de-icing materials, which I think I took that wording from
Right
the
off,
plans.
yeah.
So it's just those things get lost. And if it's in something that's part of their documents, then, you know, hopefully the maintenance and everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, we have no problems with that. I mean, we've been doing this for the last few years to give the planning boards the opportunity, if somebody's not doing it, that they can go to a plan and say, hey, listen,
Mhm.
you know, but
Yeah.
putting it wherever you can makes as much sense as possible.
Thank you.
So if we're done with comments procedurally, we have possibly public here tonight, but we didn't accept it. Can we open the public hearing if we didn't accept it?
I wouldn't be comfortable accepting it. I think that we should just.
No, she just wants to know whether we should.
Whether we
open
should
a
allow the
comment.
public to
That's-
speak.
To the public.
conceptually on it. Have you done that before in
Conceptual
conceptual?
hearings we
Conceptual.
usually have.
Okay, all right,
There isn't notice, but people are here.
okay.
All right, so the consensus of the board at this point is we're going to continue this to January. The applicant seems to have all our comments. But I'm not hearing a lot of objections to the plan. Right? Is that fair?
I think so.
Fair enough.
Speak up if
I
otherwise.
agree with that.
Yep.
Okay, all right, we'll ask you to step down then, and we'll, so we're going to open the public hearing if there's anyone here who wants to speak regarding this site plan tonight. Again, we have only been discussing this as a conceptual. It was not accepted as complete or making any official recommendations tonight. This was only a conceptual because there were still items that needed to be missing, that needed to be addressed. It will be reviewed again January 11th, and you'll have an opportunity to comment at that time as well.
I think you have to formally vote to continue the acceptance to January 11th.
Do we need to vote first or have the comments first?
You can do that after. but-
Yeah, no, we
Right.
need to.
Yeah. Okay, so if you'd like to comment on the step, please step forward, say your name and address for the record.
George Jones, I'm at 453 Mass Road, and we are the only home that borders against this property. I just want to correct a couple things that it seems like we're the ones under attack. I've lived in Goffstown 77 years, my entire life. We've lived at this residence for 41 years, and we were notified a number of months ago, I don't know, it could have been 4 or 5 months ago, by one of the gentlemen from Montang, and he basically said, your property, Mr. Jones, is in, your driveway encroaches on our property. So,
Matt, I'm sorry, Matt, could you point out on the plan where his property is, just for put in
Sure.
context? I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to interrupt you, it would help visually to.
it would help me also.
Okay.
I'd like to
Good.
see
All
what,
right, we're on the same
and it's
page.
very difficult to hear what's being said here.
Okay, good.
He's got two houses
Yep.
sitting right here.
Okay, we have a home on the right, and we have, it's a sort of up on a hill, a lesser hill, we have an office right there.
Which is,
So-
which building is the office and which is?
This would be the one back in here, correct?
Yeah, actually, I can stand up here and do it. This is our home, this is the building. Our driveway comes up here from Mass Road, and it actually circles around like this and comes back out. And I want to say this first and foremost. I've offered to any town official who was ever interested, drive up there, because the previous people who lived there were causing a lot of issues. And that's still open for anybody who wants to see a property, et cetera, et cetera. Our original deed read, basically, I'm not as experienced as this guy is, that's for certain, I don't do it for a living. But there's a question about a stone wall down here on that road, you might want to see that yourself. And I invited a town board member to come down and see proof that we had a stone wall there as was on our original deed. Mr. Devanza came down, the wall originally say it was this high, was down to about this high. So, and interestingly enough, at that time, that neighbor built a big stone wall over here. So wonder where stones came from. Nonetheless, so when this fella says the line's off about an inch, we had it surveyed, I think it was in '97, and frankly, if you overlay the two maps, they are very close, and it could very well be when it says half an inch or an inch on a map it is. Actually, we have a statement from the attorneys saying it's 8 inches, and 8 inches when it's extrapolated all the way up here, and in a straight line, that changes every damn thing. You know, it puts the stop line this way. So, they had a fella, I can't think of the name of the people who came on survey, but one gentleman, his name was Chris, and he was very, very good about talking about things, explaining things. He wasn't trying to shove something down our throat. And as this whole thing develops, I'm forgetting my train of thought, unfortunately, but as this develops, I understand that, number one, there was never an okay for 26 condos. I understood it was 16 condos about 4 years ago. Okay, my timeline may be off a few months or a year, but now suddenly we've got 26 condos. You've heard spoken several times, our driveway is on their property. Their property, even with the lines, comes right next to our driveway. Up here at the uppermost part, it comes right into our driveway. So that could be where he's referring to. But aside from that, there was no encroachment on their property as far as I'm concerned, okay? We went back and forth a couple of times. I forget the name of the man from Lamontagne. He came down twice, met with myself and Diana, and walked these lines. And, you know, just the possibilities of this having another entry and having 26 buildings. No one here has mentioned anything about barrier for us, or fence, or anything like that. Look at what happened across from the villa. If you didn't have fences here, my God, what a mess that would be. I don't want to live next door to a line like this where there's absolutely no barrier, no fence or anything. Our property is going to be inundated. You know, kids are kids. They're going to come up across our property all the time. The noise is incredible as it is, you know. Up until 3 months ago, there was a garage working there. The town had okayed it. I think they had rescinded the okay, but that fell on deaf ears and there became a motorcycle storage and repair facility. Three months ago, that tended to stop, and they don't have an active garage anymore. I don't want to get sidetracked for you. You don't hear all of that, I'm sure. But my point is, if they're talking about, well, this is only an inch, why in hell is this such a big deal to them then? You know, that should raise some concerns. You know, we can all smile and laugh at some of the things each other says, but this is very, very serious to us. I would hope they'd be taken serious by everybody at table here.
So the applicant has suggested that you have been working on an easement document?
Yes, that's correct. He also suggested we change lawyers. Well, with the same law firm, these two lawyers work hand in hand. I mean, if I want to come in here and bastardize somebody, try to shove something down your throat, I'm going to talk like that too. You know, but there are little innuendos that I believe need straightening out here.
So I think for the record, what's important for this board to understand is that this issue has not been resolved.
At this point in time, our attorney told me on the phone, when was that, about 2-3 days ago?
Wednesday, yesterday.
Okay, yesterday, sooner than I thought, over phone, that he felt he had spoken to their attorney, and he felt verbally things are resolved, okay? That's the best I can update you on that. As far as I know, well, I would know, we've certainly not signed off on anything. If it's agreeable, we'll do that. If we give a word, we'll do something. But we don't have any document signed from them, and I don't know if this is even proper or not, but Diana was paralegal. Is she able to speak? She can fill in, you know, areas here that are more exactly than I can. She's much more precise speaker and probably has a better mind than I do. Well, it's true, really.
Well, we're welcome to hear anyone enter into the public comment tonight, but I think that the answer for us is that this has not been resolved, and obviously it would not be approved until this is resolved. So it's outstanding, and it's good to hear that it's being worked on and that it is not resolved at this point. I guess I should also clarify, I want to say for the record and for the board that you know, land disputes of this nature can just happen over time, where there's potential driveway shifts and lack of boundary, really clearly understanding where they are in the field. And I don't think that it reflects in any way a judgment call on anyone. These things just happen, and as they come up, they sometimes get clarified in the public record as when things get surveyed in a legal way.
Well, like I say, the 97 map that we had drawn up and the map that Chris's firm had drawn up, they do look very close when you superimpose one on the other. The problem is when you go 200 feet down, if that angles off a bit,
sure,
then you're not talking that 8 inches, and I said 8 inches, I think he said an inch or half inch or something.
Sure.
There's a big, big difference there. And of course, part of it is obviously when you hire an attorney, you have, I want to give them a chance to speak again. When you hire an attorney and just the two attorneys are communicating, sometimes things get lost in there.
Sure.
By accident, but they do get lost in the interpretation or whatever.
Sure.
So basically, that's where we sit right now. Also, at the very beginning of this, the Montagues, this is what I started to say, when they came up, they put in a line of posts and said, we'll swap you this land or a right on the property abutting your driveway for this land up here. And I said, well, that's going to take some time for us to think about. 2 days later, we got a notification they withdrew that. Some supervisor said, no, you can't do that. There was a second set of stakes put in, and the same thing happened. So I felt like we were being kind of jerked around in this matter, you know. Certainly with 26 condos, you're gonna have what? You're gonna have at least 30, if not 40 or 50 vehicles entering, going in and going out. And I think that's a very, very bad situation just before that intersection. You know, the difference between 16 or 26, I'd rather see none, of course, you know, but I'm just telling you the best I can recall, everything that's transpired, you know.
Thank you.
And it's very, very difficult when you live in one of those situations. And again, I invite everybody, take a drive up through there and take a look, you know, what a mess it is now next door, because it's only been about 3 months they've been cleaning it up. Well,
Kimberly, can I get clarification from you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I heard you say earlier on that you had some concern with the relative proximity of the new buildings relative to your existing buildings, and you would like to see a privacy fence. I think I heard you.
Yeah,
Is that something
we're
you're-
elevated, so you can look down onto it. But my God, you know, you're gonna have decks, what he pointed out, all the way around there.
So you're looking for a fence to break up sound and visual sort of thing,
Yes.
give you some privacy?
And it's not gonna be anyways near 100% because of our
okay.
height.
Just want to make sure I understood your concern. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if my wife Patty or Diana, would either of you say anything, add to it?
I would like to.
Correct me?
I'm not
Okay.
correcting you.
Diana, she's been with us for, I don't know, how long?
10 years. Diana Dickinson, I actually reside at 45 Dells Way in Ware, New Hampshire, but I've worked at 453 Mast Road for over 10 years now for Patty and George Jones, and I've been involved with this since the beginning. There were 3 things said that is the reason I'm going to speak. I almost didn't even come tonight because I thought we were so close to resolution that this was not going to be a big issue, but he said it was been blown out of proportion, that it's no longer an issue, and that we've changed attorneys. So those are the 3 things real quickly. We first heard about this whole project from Dana that he had mentioned. He came out, he walked the lines with us with the man from Keach Nordstrom, and he talked about the land swap first. And then they came back a couple weeks later and they marked out the boundaries. And then we had time to talk about it, and it's a big decision for Patty and George Jones over here. So they discussed it and we decided to go forward with it. And then we got an email before we reached out back to him that it was off the table. So now the idea was that they would move our driveway, possibly at their expense, because we have a center part where it loops around, and we could move that over. It would be tough for the FedEx truck that we get every day in DHL, but it could be done. So they talked about that, and when we went back to them and said, yes, we agree to that, how would that look, what are we going to do, we were told again it was off the table. So at that point, Patty and George got the attorneys, and it's Cronin, Bisson, and Zelinski. We've never changed attorneys. Our primary attorney, the main guy, was John Bisson. His name's in the firm's name. And then Sean Dunphy is his associate. I think that might be where the confusion is, that they think we've changed attorneys. Sean Dunphy was kind of moving forward with it, but nothing was happening. And just before the last, it got moved from October to November. Just before it got moved, it was stressful. We haven't heard anything. We have no easement. Nothing has been submitted to us. So Attorney Bisson, I think, kind of took it over at that point, and I think it's because Sean Dunphy wasn't really getting them motivated. Then it got moved, and we've been waiting, and we've contacted him twice during the month, waiting, and finally Friday at like 5:45, I think, PM, an email was sent out from our attorney, John Bisson, finally with a draft of an easement. So we're like, okay, we finally have it. So Monday, we were able to talk about it, and one of the things was it said this is not homestead property. So we tried to catch up with Attorney Bisson. We couldn't reach him Tuesday. Wednesday, he finally got in touch with them, and sure, yeah, it's homestead property. They do live in that building over there. That's their home. It's their homestead. So that has to be changed. So the last thing we heard was yesterday that they need to change the easement, and then it hasn't been signed as far as we know. It sounds like it hasn't been, and it definitely hasn't been filed with the Registry of Deeds. So that's the status right now. Obviously, I think we are moving forward. I think it's practically agreed upon, but it's still not official. So, that's all.
Thank you. David?
Please.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, I'm going to try to simplify or clarify. From the engineer drawings, it appears that slivers of the present width of the driveway is on the developer's land. Not the entire driveway,
No.
but slivers.
Just pieces.
And if
2 spots.
If the easements allow the present width of the driveway to remain where it is, does that appear satisfactory then? If the easements cover the slivers of land that are on the developer's land?
Yeah, we asked Attorney Best, I actually spoke to him as well yesterday, and we asked about plowing snow. What if snow falls off the edge and we only have our easement to here? He said no one will be concerned with that.
No.
And then we asked about maintaining the driveway. What if it washes out or something and we kind of have to work from the side? He said he's never heard of anyone having an issue with, mostly you can access it from your easement area anyway, because you're going to go in from that side. But he said he doesn't see any issues with it the way it is. So I think at this point, we're happy with it. We just need to fix that homestead property wording.
That's wording in the document.
Yeah, at the bottom of it, it said this is not homestead property in capital letters.
Thank you.
Does she speak better than I do?
Just differently.
We're not authorized to answer.
We didn't like
Would anyone else like to speak for the record? Hold on over there. Anyone else want to speak? Okay, I'll give you a very limited audience here.
I just want to apologize to the board in that I'll get my I's dotted and T's crossed. I didn't mean to come across that way. I was more upset that it felt like you guys hadn't got the information from Joanne and that. I didn't mean the abutters in that. I apologize if I came across in that. It's not the way I want to do it. I will button up the plans, dot the I's, cross the T's for the next hearing. I'll make sure they finish the stuff up that's there, and we'll go from there. So I got your comments, and we'll address them, and I apologize for not having it all taken care of before I got here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if anybody doesn't have any more comments, we'll take...
I've got a question for staff. If they don't have an answer, I'd like it for next meeting. There are 96 units at Morgan Estates. Do you have any idea how big that parcel is? Because I'm wondering about the comparative density.
I do not know
So
how
could-
big it is.
Could staff come back with
So you want to know the density?
what the acreage of
How
Morgan
many units per
Estates?
acre?
And is Morgan Estates all duplexes? I think they are.
They are duplexes. I don't believe they have a play area. I would say that.
You don't think what?
They do not have a play
No,
area.
that's been around a long time. I don't think they do. But I wanted to know whether they were all duplexes.
They are duplexes. They're all duplexes.
Can I ask Barbara a follow-up on that? If you're concerned on the comparison of the units in Morgan, can you also, I mean, we have garden style right across the street too, so if we're comparing how many units on both sides of me.
No, I understand it. So it's a neighborhood that you can sort of pick anything from.
I just wondering what you're.
I think I will just tell you there is a concern for things that were referenced here tonight for the visual impact of the neighborhood going by, because the visual impact for the neighborhood there is either single-family houses or an entrance, right, to the and I am wrestling in my mind in regards to the units on the right as you go in. Because I have been to the Jones property before in regards with prior applications, and that is quite a steep embankment there. And I appreciate Mr. Jones talking about a privacy fence, but there really is I'd have to go out and step out where these are, that you could even do a privacy fence that would have any impact based on the steepness, which raises my concerns about somebody saying, well, nobody cares where the snow goes. Actually, on that site, I can see that people might care where the snow falls if they're plowing their driveway, because it's pretty darn close there, and it is gonna be a lot of units against that embankment, and having been there with the previous occupant, we all know that noise and height creates a different impact than if you're talking perfectly flat and open. So I am sort of, I'm
But
resting.
I think it's reasonable to ask them to address the privacy issue. And if the answer is can't be done because of topography and elevations and whatnot, that's the answer, but I think
It's actually, if you go to your grading plan, it's not. I built all these units on the right side. These are all garage unders, and then up top is back, so I've created a buffer already with that, so I will definitely take a look at that. And I'll get you a cross-section to kind of show that.
Because I will tell you that being
I
on the
used this one.
Jones property, one would be yelled at for even looking at the property. That's how,
That's what I've heard.
Right.
that's how much of a visual contact it is and how close it is. And these units are actually closer than the current building with the patio. So I do think that section might be an issue.
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
I hear your concerns.
Okay. Any other comments before we,
Move to continue this matter to January 11th?
Barbara made a motion, anyone want a second?
Second.
Okay, any comments? Take a vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstains, it carries. To clarify, Patty, they will not get re-noticed, right?
No, it was continued, so they did not get noticed.
Okay, so you will not receive another notice in the mail, but this will be heard again on January 11th.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
What's that? Cool, I'll try, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the new business. Thank you. If you guys wanna have discussions, you can just move them out in the hallway, please. We have a conceptual, a map line, lot 53-1. Conceptual for proposed 3-lot subdivision, open space off Serenitas. Has frontage on Serenitas and Sherrill Hill. Property owner is Pier 60 LLC zone. And we're on page 15 of our packet.
Sorry, I didn't.
Okay. And that is the next site.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so let's hope I read the right overview on this one. Okay. Proposal to construct 4-lot open space subdivision, 3 new house lots and 1 open space lot. Frontage provided along Terrell with access through 50-foot right-of-way at the end of cul-de-sac on Serenitas. Shared driveways proposed off Serenitas for the 3 lots. Land abuts Blackbrook Road, which requires shoreline approval. PRC was held on December 5th. We have comments from DPW, so this is just a conceptual, so we're just in here to have a lovely chat. Okay.
Indeed.
Indeed, okay. Patty, do we need to say anything else from staff before we open it to the?
No, so you read the heading of what it's conceptual, and so what they're looking at is doing, basically a 3-lot open space subdivision, obviously the 4th lot being open space. And they want to come in off of Serenitas Lane. They're looking for feedback on having a shared driveway coming off of that area. And get some input from the board so they can proceed with their plans. Did I summarize it?
That sounds about right, yeah.
Great. Can I?
Go ahead, Barbara.
So, is this proposed for the entire parcel?
Yes. I
So
believe
the
that.
50 some odd acres is going to become 3 lots and open space?
Three small lots in open space, so.
Okay.
It's very wet.
Because, huh?
The property's very wet.
No, I understand that, but, I'm always thinking lines mean something, so when you did this, I just wanted to make sure that was just for purposes of detail, that we were
Yeah, it
still
says
talking
see
about the
sheet
whole.
2.
No, I understood, I just wanted to make sure. So, I guess, are you trying, I'm gonna be honest, are you thinking that the open space gives you a better shot at dealing with our shared driveway aversion? Because this seems to be a lot of work to do an open space subdivision. You need regs and documents recorded, and conservation is gonna make you post little signs on all the trees that you can't do anything past in them. So why aren't you just doing a 3-lot subdivision with the shared driveway?
Well, because we wouldn't have frontage. A 3-lot conventional subdivision would require,
A road.
yeah, it would require a road, and that would require, Serenitas is already a maximum length road, so we would need waivers on.
Sorry, hang on.
I'm sorry.
Well, I would like to have your names for the record, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we cut right into things. My name is Rob Deegan with S&H Land Services, and this is Tom Savoliantopoulos, the property owner.
Could you spell your last name, please?
It's like vegan with a D.
Oh, I thought you wanted to spell his
D-E-G-A.
name. I
Yeah.
was waiting on that.
And yours, please?
waiting.
SVOLEANTOPOULOS.
Try that again.
SVOLEANTOPOULOS.
Okay. And what's the first name?
Thomas.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so there are a couple of issues with coming off. It's the road length itself. Okay.
But, so, and I think, and we do have some notes from Scott, I guess, the thing that just jumped out at me, you're calling this a driveway, you have these lots then that you're creating that are 0 frontage lots. They don't have frontage on Serenitas, or you're not building a road, they're just,
Well, they
they're
have
sort of.
frontage on.
Well, no, they just float out there,
Yeah.
Right.
those 3, so.
They're surrounded by.
So I don't-
There's frontage for the lot on Tyrrell Hill.
Well, no, these 3, but these lots that he's
Oh,
creating.
the lots themselves.
The lots
But
they're
the open
creating.
space has frontage.
And so even under our regulations, we can reduce your frontage, we can waive it down to 50 feet, but we can't eliminate the frontage requirement. So I think you're going to need to create frontage, and so this is going to have to be a road, it is my thinking. I just don't know what
So-
you're getting here.
We've gone back and forth with Joanne on this several times, and honestly, I'm kind of dismayed that she's not here, because I was hoping she would be able to provide some context.
I think I can help a little bit.
Did you
Because
give
they
me
meet
some
the frontage requirement on the opposite side, they're allowed to come in on the Serenita side
Yeah.
with the reduced access coming in as like a shared driveway, even if they have to build it to a certain roadway standard. They, I believe the Fitzgeralds, is that what we refer to?
I don't know.
It's an older subdivision, I don't know if Barbara would remember it or call us, the one that came, like, it was a 3-lot subdivision off of like Addison Road. It hasn't been built, it's one that it was similar where they had a shared driveway and it broke out to 3
No,
lots.
that's a road, I think, for that one.
They made like a road.
Yeah, they recently came
But-
back with some questions about if they could move forward with that.
Yeah,
project.
it is that
Yeah,
one.
so I know what one you're talking about. That's
Yeah.
a road, yeah,
They-
it's a
they-
private road, it's not a
To
driveway.
town standards?
To town standards, yeah.
So they may have to build something similar.
Yeah, it would need to be building a road, so that way it's creating frontage for those lots on that private road.
Yeah, there would be like a private road right of way.
So we had looked at, I believe it's called Quail Run, which I don't remember what road that's off of, and unfortunately I don't
It's
have that
off of
plan with me.
Autumn? No, it's near there, Parsons maybe? Is it off of Parsons?
Yeah.
But the subdivision plan for that shows something very similar to this, where it's, it just kind of comes in, and then, like, the road's down here, and there's 3 lots up here,
and then the open spaces around them, and this driveway just comes in and goes like this. And there's no right-of-way shown for a road or delineation of frontage, and that was apparently okay, so.
And do we know when the
Joanne
subdivision
said she was gonna
created?
talk to the town attorney about whether we could do this, get his opinion, and then she sent me an email that she had spoken to someone named Derek, who I assumed was the town attorney, although she didn't actually
No,
clarify
it's the town
that.
administrator.
So that was not the town attorney.
No, and that's where I got the one that I'm talking about, the Fitzgerald one, was similar.
So who is?
So
Derek?
it's like you would have to
Town
build, your
administrator.
driveway would have to be built kind of similar to like a road, and then flare out, and we would consider it a private road. Right.
I have concerns that almost all of that road is in the buffer to what is a pretty substantial wetland system for Black Brook and Black Brook Road just the Black Brook wetland system, and it's all in the buffer. Like you
I agree
managed
with
to
that,
get-
and it's actually more of an impact because I'll flip this page here.
Terrell Hill.
We had our TRC, and Scott explained to us why our road design doesn't work.
Yeah,
So,
the fire truck would never make that turn.
Oh, okay.
I don't even
So
know if it would make.
we
those
worked this a
turns.
little bit.
And you are allowed to cross with a driveway or roadway when you don't have an alternative.
So
But this isn't a driveway. This would be a road, right?
So basically, I had to change this minimum radius here, and so this would actually wind up, Scott also objected to the kind of, the shape of that having like multiple turns to get in.
Yeah.
So I smoothed this out, which means it would actually require a wetland dredge and fill to cross through here now. But this is the only way into the property from, because the frontage down on Terrell Hill Road is all swamp. It's like, standing cattails and standing water, like you're not coming in there without a 500-foot bridge. So that's really not a viable
Maybe you don't
option.
need to develop it.
And what we had hoped to do was come in, there's like an old logging landing here, and we had hoped to just come in off the cul-de-sac and put the driveway in over the existing log landing, but that turning radius won't work for town trucks, so that option is out.
Can you show us where Terrell Hill Road is on that? No, on that, it's not shown on that image?
It's way over here.
Okay, thanks.
I also, in the back, what I handed out tonight, gave you guys a copy of
Right.
the GIS map to kind of show you the way.
This one.
Are these prime wetlands for the town?
No, well, it's up further, but that I checked too, because when she had it labeled, the need a shoreline permit, but it is Black Brook that goes along. But I think the prime wetlands up there.
Yeah, so I mentioned the shoreline. I don't actually think the development is within the 250 feet. I just mentioned it at TRC to them to
Okay.
make sure they knew if they started getting closer, it would trigger the shoreline.
If it's not within
Yeah.
250 feet, then they won't need one.
Just wanted to make sure that they were aware. Because Black Brook, I don't know if everybody knows that falls under shoreline protection.
So Scott, Sarditas is already in
It's
excess of the 1,000.
I believe
foot
it's in the
cul-de-sac.
1,300 foot range. I
And-
didn't write it down, but I think it's about that.
And so how long is this additional roadway that you'd need to build to get frontage for the 3 lots?
This, as we've shown it, is nearly 1,000 feet.
So it's my understanding, the 1,000-foot limitation that would need to be waived is, for fire access
It's for
purposes,
fire.
correct?
I actually asked Captain Connor to send comments on what he
Okay.
would require, and I don't see them in the packet, so.
Okay.
I do know, like I said, he went on vacation like the day after the TRC, so.
And I know this is conceptual discussion, so I think we're throwing things at you that I think you're getting sort of the thoughts and this is my approach to the thoughts and concerns that are coming up. I do have concerns about we have a cul-de-sac that's already at the maximum length, so we'd be asking for a waiver to double that maximum cul-de-sac length. The road through the wetlands and the wetland buffers, though a driveway may be permitted, I guess I'd be concerned about, to me, there's a difference of a driveway to access the lot versus, building a full road and going through here. You certainly need to, you have the right to develop and access your lot, but within accordance with the regulations. So I'd have some concerns with the wetland impacts. And the configuration, I know it's an open space development, but the configuration is a little unusual, I guess. So I think if you're trying to lay out the lots, maybe coming up with a lot configuration that sort of has, some more customary lot lines. But I've got some concerns about it, and I just don't know. That's a lot of road to build to get, a couple extra houses.
Yeah, it is a long ways in. Not gonna argue that. So, I mean, our main purpose in being here tonight is just to find out, basically if the concept would fly at all. Because, like I said, we've gone back and forth with Joanne and kind of gotten conflicting answers every time, so.
How many crossings are you gonna have?
At this point, this would be 2, so I was hoping to keep it to 1, but obviously this wasn't going to work, so we're going to have to do some fill here, and then we were targeting this narrow point in the wetland as the best point to get over.
Okay.
So.
Can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
Have you ever been out here?
Yes.
Oh, have you walked down onto my property at all, or?
Yes. Yeah. I live on Terrell Hill Road.
Oh, you do?
I've hunted those woods. Before they logged it, I used to use the trail. There's no longer accessible trail through there. But there used to be a decent trail that connected to the PLC's land that abuts your property. But that trail got demolished when they logged it. Now it's almost impossible to walk through there after they logged it and all the scrub brush is coming up. But
I walk it quite frequently. You're welcome. I'd love to walk it with you sometime and kind of just get your feel for it. Because when I come into it from Serenitas, I don't see the dramatic turns that I think that are having some concern for emergency services. But
well,
that's
it's just the sharpness of the and I mean we'd have to see the truck template on that because that turn still looks a little sharp.
But without comply to the minimum.
Without it can comply to the minimum, but if you can't prove that a fire truck can maneuver it, that would, I mean, you don't want your houses to burn down. So we want fire access.
Yeah, of course.
To speak to your comment there, Tom, part of the problem there is that the loggers went off your property.
Oh.
So the edge of the driveway here.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Is not on your land, but we can't go proposing putting pavement over that and improving it into a access for the development, which kind of forces us to come in at a steeper angle than the existing landing has. That's because if we could pave over this, then yeah, it would have looked a lot nicer, and Scott probably wouldn't have had a problem with it because it would have been much smoother.
Yeah, I mean, preferably it would come in smoother. The other thing I wanted to mention, I'm not a wetland scientist. I've never pretended to be, but there probably should be a vernal pool study done in this area because right at the end of the cul-de-sac is a large area of standing water, and I'd be concerned that that's a vernal pool. So.
When was the wetlands delineated?
This past summer.
So they were delineated by a wetland professional?
Yeah, we had Tom Sokolowski out of Ball did the delineation.
Do you have, we want to see a wetland report for that. We'd want to see that there was a specified vernal pool study that was also done.
Okay.
In TRC, did they talk to you about possibly a cistern or sprinklers
Yes,
in the houses?
the fire chief brought that up.
Okay.
I think you were leaning towards sprinklers opposed to the cistern, right?
I'm sorry?
You were leaning towards sprinklers versus a cistern?
Whatever's safest.
Go sprinklers.
My daughters might be living here, so, you know.
There is a fire station on Turtle Hill, but it is not manned, and there's no fire apparatus in there, so.
I'm on
So
my own.
thank you for bringing that up, Scott.
Hmm.
So
You
sprinklers.
will need to go to conservation.
We have a sprinkler at our house now, so.
What's the remaining, so if the master lot is 53.8, do you know what the open space is?
That's gonna be whatever's left. These lots shown are about 2.5 acres a pop, so 7 acres off of 53, or roughly 45 acres.
Yeah, your narrative says 47, so.
47, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one's a little smaller. So you got 5 there, 6.7 off of 53.8.
Have you talked to somebody about holding that easement?
No. Have not gotten anywhere near that level. Because, again, like, we haven't even established that the town considers this a legal option. So, and then there's still plenty of engineering to do and a lot of hoops to jump through before we actually come in with a formal application for this. But
And we're just identifying issues of concern so that you can have a better feeling for where we're headed here with this whole thing.
I mean, it seems to me that your issue to be resolved is with DPW and fire as to access and what they're gonna actually require to be under tires. Because even if it's a driveway, you're going, because of the length, you're gonna have to build it to whatever the
Yep.
standards are, and I don't know what the difference is with those
It
standards
would
and the
need a
road standards.
turnaround, even if it were just a driveway.
So it would need a turnaround, you're gonna have to meet the higher standards. I mean, we all know that's where the cost is on this, so. I mean, it seems to me you need to figure out what they want before you can ask, and satisfy what they want before you go asking for conservation's comment on the wetlands crossing, and I don't,
Well, and just to make more of a point, there's no guarantee that the crossing of the wetlands and the wetland buffer impacts need to happen for 3 lots. 1. You could avoid a lot of the impact with sticking with 1. I'm just gonna put that out there.
can we though? Like,
Well, sure, you just stop the road at lot 1 and build that one.
but
Really
do we
nice house
still,
for your
does,
daughters.
let's explore that a little bit. So if we did one house lot here, would we then be allowed to have that driveway turn sharply enough to not go through this wetland?
Well, I think if that's your only wetland impact, maybe that's the other answer, is that it comes in a little straighter, because that's your only crossing, and you're not crossing the rest of the main system, and everything else gets left alone.
If you're looking to build a house on a lot of record and you need to put a driveway serving one house, I think that you need to be able to access and to be able to build a house.
Our
So-
driveway standards require the fire truck access, especially with the length of that driveway would be, so.
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is,
he needs to
in
deal with
order
that
to
crossing
comply with
anyway.
what Scott's telling me we need, we're going to have to impact this wetland
Yeah.
for,
I think
you know, a
absolutely have
good,
to.
Well, sure, right.
like a
yeah.
good 150 feet here.
I guess my point is the requirements at DES and for our state, our regulations are, you have a right to access, to get a wetland impact, to access a lot to develop it for a home. I'm looking at all the other impacts when you cross the second system and go up the hill.
But you still have to avoid and minimize. those impacts.
Right.
And that
I'm
may
just
need- that
saying
may
that the
need some wall
proposed
construction.
impact there is way, way less than the proposed impact we would need to do this.
I get that.
There is an existing crossing there, I don't know when that happened, but there's a
Probably
culvert
from
in
the loggers.
place.
That one
Sorry.
down there at the choke point?
In that narrowest part,
Right, yeah, yeah.
there is an existing culvert there now, and I don't really know anything about it, but it functions, and
Probably no farm road.
maybe.
Or it was done by the loggers when they.
I brought,
went in.
They
my
typically-
site guy, DNS, from, DNS, Dave Elliott,
Yeah.
and, he felt good about it, and he's been doing this for a very long time, but
Rob, can I ask, what width is that you're showing? Because are you showing that as, you were thinking driveway? I'm one person, I'm thinking road, but are you showing that as a road width or a
I showed that
driveway width?
pavement as approximately 20 feet.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we'd have to comply with all the standards, but, you know, I was thinking just in terms of if you have 3 houses out there and cars going in and out at the same time, they have to pass. And you're not doing that on a 12-foot driveway. That's just not realistic.
What's the minimum width, Scott, for a private road, or if it was two town roads? Yeah.
So typically 24, but for low volume roads, I think we are allowed to go down to 21 feet.
Okay.
Isn't there, though, Scott, some requirement for the fire truck to be able to take
Yes.
the weight?
So, and that will also be dictated by the tightness of the turns. The tighter the turn, the more they would off track and everything. But, so low volume road,
What's John King Drive? Or the
John King's a 24.
It's a 24.
Yeah. Because that's a town road.
Yeah.
We took that on. That's not a private road. So we required that. So it says 18 feet for 5 dwelling units or less for a private street.
So at 20 feet is fine. Okay.
And now, is that consistent with the fire requirements?
So the fire requirements are 20 feet of a hard durable surface. So they could have 18 feet of pavement, but you'd have to have 1 foot gravel shoulders
On
on
each
both
side.
sides of that. So, yeah, it's basically 20 feet because of the way the fire code dictates.
Well, I don't know what kind of feedback you're getting. You're getting, some people sort of say you need to go figure those out, and other people are pretty clear they don't like it, so there you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
Some.
So, I mean, I know obviously this is a non-binding discussion, but I guess the bottom line is, would the board be comfortable even considering giving us the extension we would need to make this happen? And is there anything we could do to increase that comfort level?
I'll buy lunch.
I'd be interested to see what the rest of the parcel looks like. And where the wetlands go on the southeastern corner.
That's where the bulk of it is.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty up there.
If the primary question is, would we grant a waiver for that maximum cul-de-sac length, I couldn't comment on that without the fire department giving us some guidance on what their thoughts are.
My guess is the fire department would want to see the cul-de-sac at the end of Serenitas stay as a place to turn around. So Serenitas is on the road plan. It was supposed to happen last year. It was supposed to happen this year. Maybe it'll happen next year. I don't know. But so on Serenitas right now, there's that cul-de-sac, but then at a few hundred feet up, there's this much larger one that the development must have stopped at one point, and then they continued with another 4 or 5 houses. So that cul-de-sac in the middle is going to get eliminated and be just a through street with our new project. It gets rid of impervious, and it's less for our maintenance guys to plow. So that's the reason and it's not needed anymore now that the road continues on. And the cul-de-sac at the end is in rough shape, it's not a defined circle, so that'll get enlarged a little bit with the new design, or the new construction, so it's a little background on what's going on. Saranitas sometime in the future. I think it's next year, but I thought it was this year too, so. The plans are done, they've been done for a while.
And what's the length of the road, the total length?
It's about, the new one or existing?
You know, what
they're showing there.
what you have on your...
This, roughly 1,000 additional feet.
And fire is what, 250?
No,
If it's be over 250?
300. 300 requires a turnaround, then once you hit 1,300 feet, you may need a second one.
Okay.
Yeah. And they kind of do it on a case-by-case basis. Where you have driveways, I don't know if they count those as turnarounds, because they're significant length driveways.
Shall we discuss Plan B, or you want to just?
I mean, we might as well, yeah.
So the other kind of option we had kicked around, and we haven't sent any of this to the in for, but was in lieu of the road to do something more like this, and basically do a condo development and have like the 3 units clustered in here. This would need the waiver for the outer 50 feet of the wetland buffer to be practical. I mean, this concept shows using a common septic and individual wells, and has basically the same driveway I showed on the other one, just cut off sooner. So this is roughly 300 feet of drive, and then splitting up to the houses.
Can I have a question?
Of course.
Instead of having 3 fingers at the end, what if you came in, went to the, and looped around, eliminated the one in the middle and made that one loop?
I was just thinking the same thing.
So you're talking about basically going like that in some
Right,
way?
get rid of this third one. There's your loop for the fire department, you got a shorter driveway to the house.
They twist, I think, to tighten up. If you twist the actual leg itself.
Oh, I see. There we go.
I hate that one.
Those things never work.
So-
Break after a few years.
That, you're talking then 3 units on one parcel, and I get you'd be doing condominium, but you'd still need a variance, correct, for, I mean, essentially multi-family, because like, single-family and 2-family is permitted in agricultural, but, I mean, I guess you'd need a zoning interpretation on if that's a permitted use or not.
I think the
That's-
way we define multifamily
It's 3 lots or
Three.
more. Three
Three.
units or more.
Units or more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so you could do single-family dwelling, 2-family dwelling, but I think,
But now you've got
Agrees.
something that the whole development's in the buffer.
Yeah.
I mean, you've avoided some direct wetland impacts, but basically the entire, almost the entire system, other than maybe the first leg, is almost all buffer.
Yeah, you need a variance to do 3 units as a condo.
I like the 3 houses better. This is my thought.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
I like the 3 homes better.
The first concept, you mean?
I do.
Yeah, me too.
I do. Somebody who has a nice house and 2 acres out in the woods is gonna take much better care of it.
Right.
Unless my daughters live there, then I'm taking care of it. Which is fine by me.
It doesn't mean I love it, but of the 2 that you're showing us,
So our definition of multifamily is strange. It's a building containing 3 or more dwelling units, or a group of 2 or more buildings containing at least 2 dwelling units per building. So where those are only single dwelling unit buildings, does that technically mean it's multifamily?
I would argue no.
So I think it would need to be an interpretation by the zoning administrator, because our ordinance is a permissive ordinance, so what's written in the ordinance is what you're allowed to do. So you're allowed to do single family, and more than, and 3 units on one lot is not single family.
Okay.
But I'm not, I mean, the zoning administrator would need to review and
But
make
I
a
think
determination
the
on that.
difference is, then you're looking for 3 separate units on one lot,
Yeah,
Yeah, so
which I don't think is allowed.
yeah, that's why I think
Yeah,
it's.
one of the big problems also with multifamily is our ordinance requires sewer and water for multifamily, which there's none out there,
Yeah.
so.
So I almost think it's not so much a variance to allow multifamily, it's a variance to allow multiple single-family
Yeah,
homes
'cause it only-
on one lot where only one single-family home is permitted, or, so it's all in, like, what section you'd be asking, because, yeah, you clearly don't want to try to do multifamily out there. But I think those are questions for the zoning administrator.
But it doesn't address, so now, if you look at the table dimensions at the bottom, it only allows for the 2-family. And then
Yeah.
it's, in a regular conventional subdivision, it's 3 acres or and with 300 feet of frontage.
Out of curiosity, who is the zoning administrator now?
Jack Shepherd,
Jack Shepherd. 'Cause I don't,
building inspector, too.
So,
But,
was he
both
at
me
the
and Darren
TRC?
helped with the zoning.
He was at TRC, yes.
He was.
Yeah, he's also the building inspector. He was the gentleman sitting over here, white hair and beard.
So, and then you go the tables for agricultural, and it's a maximum number of dwelling units per buildable acre for a duplex and multifamily, is 0.08 dwelling units, and then you go to 3, and then 3 is notwithstanding maximum density, 2-family dwelling is allowed if the lot has both 3 acres and 300 feet of frontage. It doesn't address multifamily, and then when you go to the permit, to the section for the uses, if you looked at multifamily, it's not allowed in agricultural. But I didn't look at the section that you're referring to.
That was just the definition at the front of the book.
Yeah, so when you look at the 2 tables, it's not allowed. If you read even the table of dimensional regulations, you're only allowed to have a 2-family.
Yeah, and the variance to
So you need a
allow that,
variance.
then anytime you needed a building permit for anything, you need to go for a variance, because anything that you will be doing, you'll be increasing the non-conformity.
Okay. What was the application before the board maybe 4 months ago where Pete, the Piscataquag Land Conservancy declined to accept conservation?
That was on
Tenny.
the Tenny Road. Well, they have a lot of projects they were working on, and there's a staffing issue was going on too, so it wasn't like something that was important to them, I shouldn't say it wasn't important to them, but that was something they couldn't do at the time. And then conservation, they approached conservation about taking over the open space, and conservation was going to do that.
The Conservancy group in our region here is the Piscataquag Land Conservancy.
Well, they own the abutting parcel to the
Yeah,
west.
So
they're your
it might be
butter.
more
They
appealing
might,
to
they
them
might
because
be
of
interested
They might
because
be
they are, and if you look at it too, you also have another Cinnamon Woods, also abuts it, and I believe that has a conservation easement on it as well.
But
So you have
strange.
The
two,
PLC abuts that
declined
Tenny
to
property
accept
too,
the
though. Or their
conservation
new
Yeah.
concert, they
They
got that
have
conservation easement for the Clark Ridge Farm.
Yeah.
So that all abuts that other
First time
property,
I've heard
so.
that.
and conservation was working with them. They were going to, I don't know what's going on with that project right now, it's not moving forward, but, they went through the public hearing, or actually it was gonna be a gift, so they didn't have to go through some of the exact process, but it was gonna be a gift to, the open space. So that's something to look at. I also wanna note, this was created through subdivision. Because if you look, it was map 9, lot 53 is over here, this is map 9, lot 53 through 1. I know they also at one time did a lot line adjustment, but I know they did a lot line adjustment to give them a little more frontage to meet the frontage requirement on Terrell Hill.
The 4 lots here
Years ago, it doesn't matter, look about this.
came out of this at some point in the past, I think.
I know down here it is where it says that your butter on the front, where it says Dean Covis, map 9, lot 53. So 53-1 was part of that lot at one time.
53-1, actually, before we did the lot line adjustment, was probably about from here forward. It was this little piece.
Yeah, and then I think it was the Tim's area.
Yes.
Did the lot line adjustment to get the frontage. So it would be a conforming lot if someone was to build on it, they met the frontage requirement, even if they came in off of a different area.
Right.
All right, board, any other comments? No?
It's a hard site.
Yeah.
It's definitely a challenging site. So I guess, just for my clarity, do we need a road or can it be a private drive?
I think it needs to be a private road, because you need a right of way to have frontage on something. Otherwise, I don't think this board is allowed to approve non-conforming lots. And if you create those 3 lots the way they're shown, there's no frontage, so they're non-conforming.
And we don't tend to do that anyway.
Yeah. So it needs to be a road. So
Right.
I mean,
And
we
it can be a
have to
private,
have
it can be a
to
private
conform
road,
to-
but it needs to meet the road design standards.
Right.
And each lot will need to have at least 50 feet of frontage on that private road.
And that's gonna be a big one. The roadway design standards, that's gonna
Yeah.
be a challenge.
And meeting DES regulations on those crossings. Well,
Turtle culverts.
And I know these are gonna be in your family, but if these are speculative lots and you're gonna try and sell them, the price of the lots would be astronomical by the time you get done building that much roadway to town roadway standards. But that's your deal. Spend your money the way you wanna spend it.
Quite lovely, the way things are selling right now, who knows?
Yeah, true, that's true too, yeah.
Or your daughters could share one house with a really gorgeous backyard.
Thinking about it.
Lots of wildlife.
That was the initial intent.
Fuzzy enough for you?
I'm so confused.
Very fuzzy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, Patty, as far as I can see on our agenda, we don't have more, no wait, we do. No, we don't. No, we don't. We got through our correspondence action items.
Did any petition zoning articles come in?
No, I was gonna let you know that.
Oh,
Yeah, nothing got submitted. I thought we were getting one, but they did not submit.
Okay, so we don't have a meeting again until January 11th.
Yeah, and it'll be a regular meeting.
Yay.
So I guess we should have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.